as we ask for these things, people are being apprehensive in what we have and what we ask for. So that means that there must be something. And so all we're doing is asking for things in the process that is already documented that we should already have. And so I'm not, you know, when we asked for the F5 or the F5R was giving on Officer Ross, and I'm still waiting to see the F5 for Officer Dent. Do we have that?
Right there.
No, this is, so again, that's why I'm asking very clearly. When I asked Officer Ross, since he's the one who did the check on Officer Dent, he said that the F5 was not in here. So a background check, an application is not what a F5 is. An F5 is a detailed document that comes from each what is it? Agency. Officer Ross, the F5R, I'm assuming, is in here? Is that what you did for Officer Dent? And so from that, where is his the detailed documents from the agency that you said wasn't in here that Ms. Tisdale went to get?
I can show you whatever, I don't know what she burned copies of, but I can point to you
It's
whatever
a
he
summary. Did he see the summary
did. Yes,
of the investigation? What happened to the summary?
Okay, so what you're asking for, all the courses, all the stuff that he's taking. All that stuff, you just, let me hold on.
Yeah, I mean, we continue to ask for the whole file. We want to, so let me
They had a summary.
tell him, show me what classes he had and all. That's not what I'm asking for. A F5 is a specific document, just so everyone knows. If an officer comes to your department from another department, he has an F5. His F5 is his resume from that department. It tells if an officer has had a shooting or some other subsequent documents you wouldn't get based on your application. And we're simply asking. We followed our process, the mayor says. Officer Ross says he highly recommended the guy. And we're asking that we have all the documents so we can move on. Officer Ross says he has it, he did it, and so we're waiting to see it. And then we'd be ready to go. It's an agenda item too. So it should have been prepared.
Okay, well, when you say prepared, I like your statement,
Yes, sir.
Councilman Rowland.
I would
No, the motion's on the floor, it has to fly or die. But my comment to you,
Yes, sir.
you've been on here 9 years,
Yes, sir.
and this is the first time you're asking for
Yes, sir.
F5,
Yes,
F5Rs, and that
Yes,
sort of
sir.
thing. So don't make
This
it
is the
sound
first time the
like
mayor
we
has circumvented the
followed.
process.
Well, no, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not. When you hired Chief Solomon against council.
No, I said the
policies
mayor,
and
which is
ordinance.
Mayor
Well,
Allen.
it was the mayor. That was the mayor, Mayor Jackson.
Point of order for both. Yeah. We get off topic.
I'm waiting for the F5 that we're supposed to have.
Well, we've got a motion on the floor that's not gonna wait for the F5. What's council's?
It's the F5.
Do you wanna move on and then go back to it? Y'all wanna do?
Yeah, I don't know what else part that you're looking for. Here's the F5. This is what we're required to do. Okay. This is where we are, because we had 180 days of less breaking service.
No, we need to have it into the record. We need you to speak
Okay.
up because for the public's right to know, you have to speak up.
Roger
No
that.
private conversations.
What I was telling Councilman Rowland is, what he's asking for is the 180-day or less than break, which is the F5 or F5R. That's what's required, that's what's in here. Check marks is here. And I'm getting ready to show it to you. And so when he asked for it, this is what I showed him, which was the F5R. Okay, that's what we are required to show, and that's what we're required to put in here. And it's in here. And so if I answered anything wrong, I'm sorry, I don't know, but I'm giving you what we're required to get put out.
Yes, sir. So you were the chief at the time. What I'm saying is, just like you said up here earlier, the document you're showing me is a F5R history and employment verification form. That is a specific form of the person who you contacted with the date, the person, and the time, right?
That's what that is.
Right. This is the F5R. there is an additional form, there's some additional documentation that you said was in the back. So
Oh,
now I'm
she
trying
brought
to
it up.
wait, but that wasn't for Officer Den, that was for you. And so
No,
I'm,
it's Den's there. He has a summary there. She brought it in. I
Okay.
think you had stepped out and I hadn't did on.
okay.
It's the one that says summary. I think it's right up under your left elbow.
He might have put it.
No, it's actually in this packet.
Yeah,
It's a couple of pages, here, give me.
Show you what I put it on, new page.
That's what it's. These are the 2 sheets that, I just kept it so all the officers' information will be together, but take that out and bring that to you. So we can put it back in with that. Is that the document you're seeking, Councilman?
Yeah.
Is that the information you're seeking?
No,
Quick question. In our policy manual for hiring police officers, is there something that specifically states that they're supposed to have by specificity that particular document? Is it written in the policy? I mean, he's got a whole packet of information, but if that specific document is not written into the policy, no policy can be violated.
so if you look at what, so we have a policy on the process, and would you look at the process that Ms. Tisdale has been following? The F5, there's 3 columns of what needs to be done per officer. This is just a report from Officer Ross. So Officer Ross, you don't know anything about an F5. You've never seen this outside of this 1-page document that you're saying before us. You don't know what I'm talking about.
No, it's not, I'm saying I don't know what you're talking about. It's not necessary in this package, but let me pull it up for you. Let me see what I can do.
Because of the lack of the 180-day break?
No, that has nothing to do with it. Every
No,
officer.
I'm asking the officer, like you said, you're not a police officer. Officer Ross, it's not in here because, is that the one that is picked up
Correct.
or skipped because you have continuous service?
That's correct. Sir?
I'm just trying to make sure everyone understands why it may not be in there, counsel, that's all. It's not circumventing the process. The process is, that's how police officers function. And a lot of organizations do. When you pick up someone who's already employed, it might be different from someone who's been unemployed a year, 2, or 5.
Yeah, but-
That's all.
But if he's been into any kind of discrepancies, then we want to know. But that's why I asked the questions to Officer Ross, when she said he made a phone call. Councilmember Rowland would just like to see the documentation behind the phone call.
So we don't have that documentation here this evening. Would council be fine with, and can we not request that anyway, Officer Ross?
We're good.
Okay, so,
The reason why, I mean, the reason why I asked the question, if you look at the summary, outside of the officer that Officer Ross talked to, it says, I mean, it just says this. It says, I don't know if we can read this or,
no, probably better.
it says, it's a,
No, you want the particular form or report, and we're gonna check to see about getting that, that's fine.
it says that, it says, they don't know if he was fired versus what he said was resigned. This is what Officer Ross put. Wait, the I-5 will tell you specifically what it said.
Okay, so we can request the F5, would that be?
It's not here tonight, for
So,
example.
Council, sorry, my fault. Yeah, so Councilmember Rowland, can you just send that an email and asking for that information that you don't have in that packet? And like I said, I sent you the email, so it's also written down.
Yeah, So a F5 is not something that I have or make up. It's something that the department, the state has a standard F5 of like what has happened. What is in this summary is addressed right here, but it's kind of like it didn't go into detail, which is.
And so that's why I'm saying request that information and have, and do it in the email. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, it's like, each time we put on the agenda, we get this whole stack of paper right here. We never get it, and we don't get a lot of things in advance. So I'm saying just send that in the email so we can get that in advance, so we can get through all the information next time we have a conversation about it, we can say, okay, we don't have this, or we do have this, because now we have ample opportunity for all the information documentation that would need to be there.
So would we ask for the same agenda item, or do we ask for, and to include F5s?
I mean, you can ask for specifically what you want.
Okay.
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right. Ayes have it. Item 13, discuss and review financial statements for April 2019 and May 2019. Councilman Rowland.
Council, you have the budget packets. I didn't know if we were gonna get any new ones from Mr. Johnson. Well, he gave us the April, which is the yellow one, and May, which is the red one, at a previous meeting. Since we're going back, this was our opportunity for us to ask any subsequent questions in reference to the budget, whether we had monies we can move or bring over, or have those subsequent conversations. So here's our opportunity to do that. Mr. Johnson? We had asked for some stuff last week.
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah. You had asked me at the special meeting
Uh-huh.
about the police department,
Uh-huh.
and that's the only one that I
That's
did
this-
prepare you to schedule with. And on that, you all had asked me about the changes in the department. I'm gonna go through this. If y'all would just pull that schedule up that I have on your desk there, it says, yes, sir, payroll projections for the last 4 months. I put it on each one of y'all.
Wait, this?
Yes, sir.
This?
That's it, that's it. I'm gonna go through this and kind of show you what the situation is in the police department. Okay, the very first column is the approved budget as far as the base wages are concerned with your police department. That was approved when we prepared the 18-19 budget. The next column is the overtime that was approved. Also listed in there are the employees that made up that particular budget. The third column is the total budget approved wages, which is the base wages plus the overtime. Now, what has transpired, the next column says July 7th, current base wages. What I did, I took the July 7th payroll summary. And from that payroll summary, I came up with this particular column. For the lines, most lines, you only see one name, that means that person is still there. If you drop down to the fourth line, you'll see a name, Dawn Quinn, above the other name, then that's the person who's basically replaced. Now, I couldn't line these up as far as person to person, so I kind of took the liberty to just put a name next to a particular person there, original person. And in that July 7th column, that's their current yearly wage that they're working under right now. And if you continue down that column, you will see that the current wage has a total. And right below that, I put the increase. The increase, and that's the yearly increase, would be $58,466. Now that doesn't include your police chief. That's just because currently you don't have a police chief, okay? But if you include the police chief at the current original wage, that increase for the year is $131,527, or 25% increase. Now,
And that's annualized.
that's annual. That's the annual wage.
Yes.
Now, if you go over to the left, let me continue. If you go over to the left, right there, I had to look at it from a 4-month perspective because that's what's left in this current fiscal period. It's 4 months. That increase would be $43,842. You currently have a current budget. You're under budget by $49,415. So these changes here will fit under the current budget wage line item by roughly $5,573. you'd have a favorable variance at the end of the year if we continue, and that is continuing with the, with the police chief. If you hire a police chief, that increase will be 5,570, you'll be favorable in the wage by 5,573 because of your current favorable position, 49,515. Now that's just the wage. If you go, the next line item is what would be the increase in the TMRS retirement system. Basically, we pay 5.46% of wages in the TMS retirement system. So if you take the wages of 43,842 increase, that'll give you 2,394 worth of additional costs for the TMS retirement system. Currently, the retirement system is over budget by 2,667. So if you add the two together, we'd be unfavorable from the standpoint of the TMS retirement system of $5,061. The next payroll burden is the payroll taxes. And I took the same 43,000 and applied your payroll taxes, which is really your Social Security and Medicare that the city has to pay. It'd be 3,354. Currently, we are under budget by 5,164, so you have a favorable variance there of 1,850. The next item is employee insurance.
1810?
Pardon me?
1810?
Yes, 1,810, right. The next item is employee insurance. You'd have basically for the 4-month period, you'd have an increase in insurance of $8,000. Currently, we're under budget by $9,898, so you'd have a favorable variance there of $1,898. If you add the wages, the TMS retirement system, the payroll taxes, and employee insurance, you should have an overall favorable variance of about $4,220. So what that is saying is that with the current makeup of the police department, because of the favorable variances, at the end of just this fiscal period, we should still have a fair position as far as salaries and wages go.
And considering Officer Tony Ingram left us a couple of days ago, the payroll just increases proportionally.
It would change proportionally, right?
Okay. Councilman Jones?
Also,
Go ahead.
also, it wouldn't be, so the budget approved for Chief Solomon and the current, like, what is the number there? Because we also don't have a number.
The current for Chief Solomon is what you see listed there for Chief Solomon?
So this how much did he get paid?
That's it right there that you see. That's his amount.
So it would have went over.
Right, so right now, currently we don't have a chief, so that's why I have,
But the chief got paid for 30 days.
well, that's under Ross. Go down to Ross. That's what Ross was paid.
All right, and wasn't his pay, so was his pay not changed based upon?
Well, this is what the payroll summary showed me. This is what he's actually paid on July 7th.
And okay.
That's what he's in the system at,
And
on a yearly basis.
And Officer Ross came in significantly under
Right.
Chief Solomon.
What you see there is what he's currently in the system based on a yearly basis.
I have a question
Mm-hmm.
in all this. So Officer Ross came in, when you talk about budget approved base pay, how did he come in at the 44.6?
Go ahead. No, what you see there, that the other
What?
line, remember I told you, I lined up people.
Just so I'm clear.
Clear.
Go ahead.
This is the
Go ahead.
Attorney Griffin.
Yeah, do you want to do?
This is public information.
I have no idea, I haven't seen a copy of it.
Well, that's the way.
You don't have.
I'm sure.
So this is from our budget. My question, because how we do this process, well, I'll wait for it.
Yeah, hold on, let me show you.
Well, while we have a moment, can I try to keep us on the discussion and review of financial statements for April 2019 and May 2019, and not through July? Because that's the only thing that's posted.
Okay. So we can look at the fourth column, we can do 1, 2, 3, and 4. As you get that together, JJ, I'm confused in how we're moving around funds. And, all right, so if we had a police officer that needed to be filled, a police officer's position that needed to be filled, is there a reason why you have, say, officers who just got here? I guess the difference is in new officers versus old officers, or is this 31? Because so show, where does it, the connection in the TMRS, the payroll taxes, for those officers who are part-time, working full-time hours, we then bump them up, which has the increase, is that?
Right, that's what you see in the column on the July 7th. See, everybody now is considered full-time. And so, for instance, if you look at just one of the columns there, that where also was showing part-time, their salary is considerably less than what the salary is for the new officer. And the reason why is that it's part-time compared to full-time. And in this analysis, I had to portray the salaries based on a full year, so you can compare the two. And so that's why you see these amounts. Now, I might not have the new persons line up with the old persons correctly because I have no idea who replaced who. So I just took the liberages for presentation purposes and put them by a person.
So how do we know? So again, this is the question. Because Councilman Jones just asked, during the 30-day emergency, was Officer Ross getting the percent, whatever that monthly amount was from the interim chief or from whatever they agreed upon, whatever that rate was?
Okay, yeah. What you see there for Officer Ross is exactly what he was paid, what it would equate to on a yearly basis.
All right, and so then I get to the question is, and I don't know if this is a mayor question in reference to the budget, when we opened the position based upon, well, the position wasn't open. So I can't ask that. How much was the officer offered based upon the budget? How did you come up with what we were offering? Did he get a base with all the officers? Because we got this base approval budget, what we approved city council, and then JJ showing this other number, which is $15,000 higher, and we're saying, where does that come from? And how did he just start off at this amount?
Well, I'm sorry, what is 50?
So Officer Ross,
What is 15,000?
so a base officer, like a 31, 32, he's a patrolman, just like he came under, correct?
No, the base would be, no, those are part-time
Base is
bases.
increased.
Those are part-time bases, yeah, Brian.
Okay, so what?
Go up to Bennett.
Bennett.
Yeah.
So a base officer comes into the department at 45.
No, well, Bennett 46, because that's the base, well, yeah, see, yeah, excuse me, 45, right. I was adding the
Okay.
overtime, right.
So, again, it's just simple, so we're saying that Officer Ross has come in subsequent to every other base officer who's coming in the department. Everybody's ready to, I'm just asking the question. So we came in at the base rate. So we're saying based upon the full-time, we were talking about we had these shortages in officers. JJ, when you talk about for the month, and we gotta keep this the month of April, the month of May, or even kind of moving forward with how much we're over, what is our process? Because again, this is part of the main question. We have these sheets that break down employees this and employees that says W-2, that says wages. Like on this sheet that we have, it says wages.
Right.
We approve the budget, we approve both of these.
Right.
We approve both of these. They have people's names, it has salaries, it has overtime. If the employee changes, if the negative or positive, there should be something that comes back to council since they approved the budget, which makes us have to say, hey, we're gonna reallocate this and reallocate that. And I'm just asking, when we talk about being over or under, JJ, at the end of the year, or when you have a monthly projection from April to May, is there another way to do this, or is this the only way?
Mr. Johnson, that's my question.
Okay, right.
Council approves the budget,
Yes, sir.
and as long as we do not go over budget, it does not have to come back to council. You approve the police department budget. We have not, as Mr. Johnson just shared with you, even with part-time people having to work full-time because of illnesses, we still have a positive variance. We have not gone over budget, so there's nothing to bring back to council. You approve the ballpark amount, and if we happen to move them from one position to another within the same line item, it never has to come back, and that is generally accepted GAAP accounting principles. And that's how this city has been functioning. It does not have to come back.
Again, I don't know why you're so, again, we're simply,
No, I'm just saying,
no, you
I
said
hear
that
what
was a
you're
little.
saying.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
yeah, well, I
No, I
know how you
thank you.
feel. I know how you feel.
I thank you for the information.
I think the most important part for council is that we are within budget, even with the things we've gone through and changes and people coming and going and being sick. We haven't gone over budget.
Right.
That's the most important thing. Otherwise, we'd have to come back to council for a required budget amendment. Councilman Jones?
All right, JJ, where's the dog included in this?
Oh, the dog, if you look at your financial statement, go to,
But I'm saying, don't the dog factor into what the budget we gave the?
no, this is just wages. This right, this schedule here that I just gave you, that's just wages.
I know that he doesn't get a check, but at the same time, a check goes to him for
Right,
that.
we have a line item for the K-9, Councilman Jones, if you go to, you got your May,
Yes.
So, yeah.
you got your May one there? Go to, page 9, and you'll see a line item that says police K-9 dog. And to date, it shows we've spent $3,150.39. And the budget is zero there, but its budget is included in, supplies operating. But I broke it out so y'all could see what's building up in that line item. That's a new line item after we did the budget, because I had it included in supplies operating. But again, this is a case where I broke it out so you all can see since you brought it up.
But JJ.
Yes, sir.
Repeat that, you said that this was a new line item.
No, when we did the budget,
Mhm.
the K-9 dog was included in supplies operating,
Mhm.
okay?
Mhm.
That's where we budgeted their charges.
Mhm.
But since we got into the fiscal period, and y'all started asking questions about the K-9, and I said, well, let me put for the K-9 in a separate line item so you could see it, And so that's what we did here. That's why you can see it, that one line item says K-9 dog, $3,150. And this is what we can do as far as when we go to start processing. If we see that we need to identify a particular situation, we can do that.
All right, so we favorable $4,000.
On what?
Within wages about.
Yes, sir. But that's taking that's taking your wages plus what we call wage burden. And that's the other expenses related to your wages. That's why I broke it all out for you.
JJ,
Yes, sir.
in our April and May financial report, since we didn't get an opportunity for you to go over it, are there any things that you that you think we should be highlighted to us in reference to the April report? Because there's some.
Why don't we just look at the May report, because it's year to date.
Yeah, but so like.
You're gonna have, the year to date is primarily what you look at.
That's fine. Is there anything in the May report?
Well, the major thing in there is under public works.
Okay.
And the mayor's already addressed that in this meeting, that y'all are working on, trying to satisfy the debt that we have with the university.
And can you, that's all we got?
Well, that's the main item.
Yeah.
Anything else out of budget?
No. See,
Okay.
when you look at the budget, I look at the budget, and this is what financial persons do. We look at it from a total department standpoint. And within total department standpoint, you're fine.
That's either over or under.
Because you have over and unders through every line item in there, and you got 30 and 40 line items.
Yeah.
That's typical.
In the public works in May,
Yeah.
can you,
What I referenced is if you look at the balance sheet, page 11, no, page 12. Water treatment payable is $613,000. And that's what has been created since we've been only paying 35% of the total bill to the university. See, that thing has really grown.
But have we been paying that 35%?
Yeah, we pay, but we only paying 35% of what, the difference, what I'm saying is what we owe the university is $613,000. And that's just from that monthly processing.
When is the last time we paid that much?
Oh, we pay that on a monthly basis now. We pay it on a monthly basis.
So it's the only.
What hasn't been paid, and the mayor is, we've had discussion on this, is the original note. The original note on here, you see 97,293, plus the long-term portion of that original note is 33,413. So the two of those add together is about $120,000. And the mayor's in negotiation right now. I've made a suggestion that we pay that total note off in total.
Well, we're taking a look at both
Yeah,
because
right.
we're having the value that the university is interested in being appraised and what have you, and in continuing with a suggestion that our legal counsel attorney Zach made, who was at the meeting, is to take a look at, they almost balance each other out. Since the university wants this, once we get the appraisal and then our lawyers deal with it, they want a piece of property, the piece of property on University in Echoes
But what,
that the city owns.
but we have to, I mean, Mayor, why wouldn't we, all right, so at one point in time, we hear our citizens' complaints as to the university expansions within the city. And then at another, we also hear that the city should do more. At what, all we're doing is putting a Band-Aid over a bleeding that, over a cut that's gonna continue to cost us. Like, we have to figure out a way to move strategically that's gonna bring the city revenue at the same time, be able to subsidize this cost in which we owe the university. So it's, I mean, I think there's something that we've talked about before, but I think that before that we go into that discussion,